Now that we are halfway through the football season, we can look at some of the top prospects in the 2026 NFL draft class. Who's moving up the board? Who's moving down the board? Let's find out. All right, Doug. So I wrote earlier this week at athlonsports.com about a couple of prospects that I like, 2 quarterbacks that I've liked at times, but especially after this past week, they're both tumbling down the draft board for me. I want to talk about those guys first. Let's talk about Carson Beck, man. Let's get the frustration out early. 2 of the last 3 games have just completely obliterated him from my draft board because of the turnovers, because of the reactions after the game. I know you've dived into the film a little bit, as you do. I'm seeing turnovers and bad decisions and bad reads. And again, some of his comments after the game, even, I know we're going to rub NFL scouts and coaches and GMs the wrong way. When you look at
I can only run what's called. No.
Come on, man. Just even if you think it, you can't say it. What do you see with Carson Beck? And is there any path for him to get back into the good graces of NFL decision makers when it comes to his draft stock looking ahead to 2026?
I don't really care what NFL decision makers think. I can go by what I see, and you know what the NFL thinks. That's 32 different teams. It's 32 variances of opinion. Well, after the 26-20 overtime loss to SMU, Beck was quoted as saying he can only run what's called.
I'll just execute the play that's called.
This is after throwing his own receiver under the bus and saying all sorts of things. And it's like, if you're going to talk that way about your own performance, you had better be for real. And he isn't. I mean, he's a rough watch, man. Beck is a really rough watch because he's so late in his progressions. He will wait and he will read and he will hitch and hitch and hitch. And it's like, throw the bleeping ball. Get it out. I mean, the 4 interception game against Louisville, he was late on just about everything vertical. And it was like, well, 3 of the interceptions were on verts. There was one where he let I believe it was a slot defender, converge on a swing pass. I don't even know what to do with that. Against SMU, Beck's second of 2 interceptions was really worrisome. It was more of the same, and it's getting worse. He had a 3-by-1 set, 3 to the front, 3 to the right, 1 to the left, at the SMU 7-yard line at the start of overtime. He had 2 receivers winning underneath on a really good route combination, right to left crosser and a little whip route, that old Julian Edelman thing from the right side of the middle of the field. And for whatever reason, I mean, he missed the crosser completely, and then he hitched in the pocket until the whip route. His second read was capped. He waited for the defender to get over to cap the whip route, and then he threw the ball. And I really struggle with the NFL futures of quarterbacks who see everything late, because the windows in the NFL, you know this, they go from inches to millimeters like that. Game speed goes up. Windows get shorter. Everything is magnified. And I don't... As far as his path to the NFL, I don't see enough good to mitigate what I think will get him in major, big time trouble at that level. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I think the frustrating thing with those traits that you mentioned and those struggles is we're talking about a really experienced quarterback. We're talking about a senior. We're talking about a guy who, when he got hurt and missed the rest of that season.
I mean, he's played a lot. He's had a lot of reps. I don't know how experienced he is. There's kind of a difference. If you're doing the same stuff, how experienced? The Malcolm Gladwell thing of 10,000 hours, you can be 10,000 hours still have your head up your ass. It doesn't.
Evidently. Again, that's what, like, when he gets hurt last year and misses the rest of that season at Georgia, you're not sure if he's going to go into the draft or not. You're hoping, okay, he's coming back. He's going to Miami. Maybe there's a Cam Ward kind of ascension for him at Miami. And I think we're just seeing how different they are as players, because he's got arm strength, but not arm talent, because that is connected to how you process and how you're able to read. And again, when you've got a quarterback, it's not like Anthony Richardson. It's not like, you're a redshirt sophomore guy who just needs to play a lot more football. This guy's had a ton of reps and he's still struggling with the same things over and over and over again. At some point, you are who you are. You are who we thought you were. I think that's how I feel about Carson Beck. And that's why, again, I'm as a draft prospect, he's just not on the radar for me at all right now. One guy who was on the radar, who has been ascending the whole season, and I think had a maybe not a Heisman case, but he was definitely putting up some impressive film, impressive numbers. Brendan Sorsby at Cincinnati. Yeah. Saturday night against Utah was a huge mile marker game, I think, for his stock. And boy, was it bad. 11 of 33, He did have a couple of moments. There were a couple of throws where like, okay, there he is. There's the guy. But man, those are those games. I would imagine as an NFL decision maker, you're looking at those games and saying, okay, how does he stand up when guys aren't wide open? How does he stand up when the competition is stiff, the windows are tight, the decisions need to be quicker, the pass rush is muddy, and you're dealing with more action in the pocket. And man, he had a rough day. He had a rough night against Utah, blowout loss. I know you've had a chance to look at the film a little bit. What do you like about what Sorsby brings to the table, and how concerned should we be about what we saw against the Utes the other night?
Yeah, in Utah's a good defense. They've been DBU for like 10 years now.
Yep.
A lot of guys going to the NFL. I don't think it was all his fault. I saw some really weird miscommunications with receivers. I think it's a burn the tape game to a point where sometimes you just come in and it does not work. All right, let's learn what we can from this, set it on fire, and just move on. And in regard to my Carson Beck comments, one of the things I watch with young quarterbacks right away, how well they work through progressions and make explosive completions out of those situations, as opposed to just checking it down or bailing when they have to read the entire field. Because some guys can't do it. I don't think Carson Beck can do it. Sorsby will do that to a point, and that's a heavy RPO offense. He's also got the green light to run, and he can create explosive plays that way too. I think he could be, and again, when I compare college players to NFL players, I'm not saying he's going to be that guy right off the bat. He could be kind of a Jalen Hurts, Jackson Dart style quarterback where the limitations with the field reading can be mitigated by his rushing ability, and it catches up with what defenses require you to do in the NFL. I think he could be that kind of player. I would be more positive on him than I would be on Beck, based on the whole of the season as opposed to just one game. I think in the right. I don't think Sorsby's going to be one of those scheme transcendent, team transcendent guys who just comes in and rips it up no matter where he is. But in the right system, I think he could make it work.
Yeah, he's just, again, outside of that game this season, he's been so fun to watch, whether it's in the pocket, it's outside of structure, he can change arm angles, he's got velocity, he's got touch, he's got a great feel for anticipation and ball placement, and is not afraid of traffic. When it gets ugly, he can escape, he can make things happen. He doesn't look rattled. Again, not until that game you could see it was a struggle. But even in that game, that 88-yard touchdown he threw, where it was, again, a quick read, a quick decision, a great ball. His deep ball placement has been really impressive. So there's a lot to like there, where I'm not going to throw it all out with the bathwater because of one game. It's concerning because I think it's the toughest defense he's faced, and you want to see him play well against that type of competition. But jury's still out. I still like what I see. I'm interested to see how he bounces back and responds from that performance. And speaking of glass half full kind of perspective,
by the way, just to break in for a second, he does. I mean, a lot of that, the runs are designed, or they're RPO options. He's not really. He doesn't bail to run. He doesn't run to run as much as he's running to throw or design run, if that makes sense.
Right.
I hope I'm making sense with this. He's a constructive runner as opposed to a runner out of desperation.
Right. Yeah. He's not as much of a reactive, my first read's not there, I have to run now type of guy, as much as they're taking advantage of his skill set by putting him in positions purposefully to use that skill set. I think that's an important designation. Two guys that I have been impressed with, if we're going to look at the positive side of the stock report here, a couple of pass catchers that have stood out to me really weekly. I mean, I've been a fan of one of these guys the whole season. The other guy really popped for me the last couple of weeks. Let's talk about him first. It's Omar Cooper Jr., the wide receiver out of Indiana, who, again, Indiana has been ascending the whole season. We all want to talk about Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback, might be the best quarterback in this draft. Even at wide receiver, I think Elijah Surratt has gotten a lot more attention than this guy. But man, Omar Cooper Jr. this past week against Maryland, there was one play that just stood out to me. He cooked a corner on a double move route. And again, it's one thing, you could just say double move and assume it's always going to work because you can get a corner to fake. He sold this slant and go, that sluggo route, just as well as you're ever going to see it in terms of the footwork, the shoulder fakes, the commitment to that slant before getting outside to run the go, and putting enough distance, again, leaving that distance between the numbers and the sideline so Mendoza has a nice, easy throw. I mean, 6 foot, 200 plus is what he's listed at. I don't think he's that number one receiver type of guy. When I look at him, though, I think that Robert Woods, that like clear wide receiver 2 guy that's going to be able to run all the different routes, able to work, short, intermediate, and enough explosiveness. He can create explosive plays down the field with that route running ability and setting up DBs to fail. When you had a chance to look at Cooper's film, what did you see, and what is his kind of projection in terms of role at the next level?
By the way, Indiana has allowed, I believe, the third fewest points in the FBS this season, so it's not just Mendoza and the offense. We might be looking at the next natty here. I want to see this offense against what Matt Patricia might throw at it in an Indiana-Ohio State playoff. That's what I want for Christmas.
Yes.
Cooper, 6 foot, 204 unofficially. It'll probably be like 5'10", 185. He's got a nice route palette too. Everything hitches, outs, slants, digs, post over. I mean, he's got all that. The 222-yard catches against Maryland. One on a dig ball from Mendoza. He had to stop to catch, and then he got some yak out of that one. He can be tough in traffic. The sluggo was just, it was Jamari Gasker, poor guy, just got, he was back there looking for the version of Cooper that couldn't do what he did on the sluggo, and it was nasty. I could see Robert Woods. As far as number one, number two, so many teams are running these compressed formations, and I've done stuff on this, Cooper Kupp referring to number ones aren't what they used to be. And he was primarily the slot guy, whereas Surratt was the outside dude. That sluggo was not on the outside, I believe. So he can go outside. He can do a lot of different things. I think if you're the Bengals and it's 3-by-1 all day, he's not a number one guy. If it's the Vikings, the Rams, the Seahawks, teams that run a lot of condensed formations and want to blur the lines between 1 and 2, the Niners are like this. Oh, God, would Cooper be ridiculous in Kyle Shanahan?
Tampa, Jacksonville, run a lot of this stuff.
Much. I think I'm not going to say he could be Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jackson Smith and Jigba, but I could see him, and Robert Woods is another good comp. I could see him winning in some of the same ways. So, good player. Of the guys we've discussed so far, I think of the 4, he's my favorite, just based on what I think his NFL potential could be.
Yeah, the last guy I want to talk about is a guy that jumped out to me early in the season.
He's fun. He's just fun. He's fun.
Such a fun player to watch. And again, Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon is easily the best tight end in this class. I think nobody will argue with that. But there's nobody has really emerged for that 2 spot in the tight end rankings this year. I'm planting my flag for Michael Trigg from Baylor because he's just such a fun player to watch. Again, he's not the biggest guy, 6'4", 240-ish. He's not the fastest guy. He's definitely not a burner type of guy. But man, when the ball comes his way, it is his ball. And whether it's acrobatic, one-handed, snow cone grabs like we saw this past week, or it's just slot fade and I'm just going to throw it up because he's going to, even when he's covered, he's open kind of guy.
Yep.
If you're a linebacker, he's too athletic for you. If you're a DB, you're probably too small and too weak for him. What did you see with Michael Trigg's film? I don't know if you like him as much as I do, because I've just every week I'm like, man, this guy is not just a fun Saturday player. I think he's got a really fun ceiling at the next level. Again, not as necessarily the Vernon Davis type of guy that I think that Kenyon Sadiq can be as an athlete. He's just a damn good football player, man. And I think he's the type of tight end that every quarterback wants to have, that if all else goes to where, I can throw the ball at Michael Trigg. He's going to make a play. He's going to move the chains. He's going to score the touchdown in the red zone. That's what I see.
Well, teams are running more 12 and 13 personnel, multiple tight ends. I mean, the Chiefs have been doing this for years. The Rams, all of a sudden, are running 13 personnel half the time. What on earth is going on there? Trigg reminds me of 2 guys. Terrence Ferguson coming out of Oregon last year, because you remember this. Ferguson had all these daredevil Eva Knievel reps. We're like, I don't even know if you needed to do that much crazy stuff to catch the ball, but I'm glad you made my morning entertaining.
Just show off.
Show off. Study. And then Ben Sinnott from Kansas State, who went to the Commanders in the second round a couple years ago. Sinnott had played hockey. I talked to him at the Combine. Played hockey since he was 3, and you could tell. Trigg is the same kind of guy. He's 6'4", 240. He rumbles more than he runs. He could run a 4.6 40, and I wouldn't be surprised at the Combine. Right. And I don't think it matters.
I'd be happy with that. I'd be fine with that. That's fine.
Yeah, he's not. I was thinking 4.8 when I was trying to be nice. Because I don't. If he runs a 4.6, and I say I'm stupid, I don't need any help with that. Not afraid of contact in contested catch situations. The first catch against UCF was probably offensive pass interference. I don't think you're allowed to like judo chop a guy to the ground, but that's just me. Give him credit for wanting to initiate contact. The NFL might feel differently. But you know, the lack of speed, the lack of size, it doesn't matter. He's good for an explosive play or two per game because he just has it in a wheelbarrow at the catch point. And quarterbacks love a guy where you can just throw the ball in his general vicinity and he's going to be Gary Payton in the paint to catch it. And I think that's who he is. You know, is he a route master? I don't know. Is he your second or third tight end in all those 13 personnel packages with the Chiefs, the Rams, someone like that? Maybe the Jaguars, maybe the Broncos. Sean Payton's always looking for that joker weapon at tight end. He may not be that, but he can be the other guy who just creates, you know, everyone has Excedrin headaches on defense because you have to defend this guy and he just will not be defended in that way. I think you have to love the attitude and the playing personality, and you just kind of fill it in from there.
How do you feel about these prospects? Are you still a believer in Carson Beck? Do you still believe in Brendan Sorsby at Cincinnati? Do you like Michael Trigg and Omar Cooper Jr. as much as Doug and I do? Let us know in the comment section below.